The true turning points in history often aren't found on grand battlefields or in the decrees of kings, but in far quieter moments, perhaps an argument over breakfast or a silent conversation between brothers in a dusty inn. That's one of the surprising insights offered by Bramwick Thistlemore, the remarkable lore keeper narrating Shane Kennedy's Tales of Mythraedel. Instead of an omniscient voice guiding us, Bramwick is himself a character, a gnome historian, mage, and explorer, looking back on a bygone era. He's compiling this history from fragments, journals, and archives, much like a real historian. But why would an author choose such a specific, self-aware narrator for an epic fantasy? What does Bramwick Thistlemore bring to the story that a conventional third-person omniscient voice couldn't? That's exactly the central brilliance of Tales of Mythraedel. Bramwick Thistlemore isn't just a narrator. He's our personal guide through a world he's also trying to understand. From his very first words, quote, Mythraedel, even. After all my years wandering the realms of Ethelgard, I have found few names spoken with such quiet reverence, end quote. He establishes himself as a character with his own experiences, his own voice. He's not an invisible god overseeing events. He's an old friend, sitting beside you, sharing wisdom and stories he's painstakingly pieced together. It changes the entire emotional texture of the world. He calls us dear friend or dear reader constantly, and it truly feels like he's recounting history rather than just presenting facts. You feel his warmth, his wisdom, his curiosity. There's a unique intimacy to it. He has this wonderful, almost grandfatherly presence. He'll say things like, quote, forgive me, old habits, where was I? Ah, yes, the building of a city, end quote, or share personal opinions on bad wine. But Mia, how can we trust a narrator who admits to uncertainty and personal bias? Doesn't that undermine his authority as a historian, especially in a world where we, as readers, are trying to grasp the truth? Or does it do the opposite? It makes him far more believable. Bramwick isn't claiming omniscience. He acknowledges that records disagree. Information is incomplete, and history is imperfectly preserved. When he discusses Thalion Dorndor, for example, he notes, quote, as is so often the case with history, I suspect the truth rests quietly somewhere between the two, end quote. Or he'll admit, quote, I regret informing you that I remain unable to identify this particular counselor with complete confidence, end quote. This self-awareness, this admission of the limits of historical knowledge, makes his authority feel earned rather than assumed. So, his fallibility makes him credible. That's an interesting paradox. It's almost like he's inviting us to participate in the act of historical interpretation, rather than just passively receiving it. But it also seems like he has a distinct point of view on what history should emphasize. He explicitly says, quote, history remembers kings. The royal elves remembered people. I have always admired them for that, end quote. He seems more concerned with kindness, relationships, and seemingly small moments than with rulers and wars. Does that shift the emotional character of Mythraedel in a significant way? It transforms the world. Conventional epic fantasy often focuses on the great figures and their great deeds. Bramwick constantly reminds us that civilizations aren't just built by grand pronouncements. They're built by impossible dreams, stubborn hands, and those peculiar souls foolish enough to believe tomorrow may yet become greater than today. He spends significant time detailing the Nofleur, these magnificent mountain creatures whose labor was essential to Mythraedel's construction, and the reverence the elves showed them, even establishing a law called the Rain of Arrows for harming one. This focus on the everyday, on the collective effort, humanizes the epic scale. It makes Mythraedel feel like a living, breathing place, not just a stage for heroes. His beautiful description of Meleron and Ellesmere's first night together, titled beauty drenched in labor. He makes a point of analyzing how Meleron, a prince, is drawn to Ellesmere's honest exertion, her freedom, the complete absence of calculation. And then Bramwick states, quote, history remembers leaders for the wars they fought, the laws they passed, and, if fortune proves generous, the peace they preserved. It seldom remembers that they complained about poor breakfasts. Yet, I have often suspected those are the moments most worth preserving, end quote. It's such a profound statement about what he values. Exactly. He's looking for what reveals the heart, not just the title. This perspective is a crucial differentiator from a conventional omniscient narrator. An omnipresent voice might tell you what happened. But Bramwick, as an in-world historian, interprets it through his own values. He's not just relaying. He's reflecting on the human condition within that history. This allows the story to acknowledge that we, the readers, are looking backward at events whose consequences may far exceed what the characters realize at the time. He creates this rich tapestry where grand politics intertwine with deeply personal struggles, giving everything a human weight. That reflection feels tied to his identity as a gnome and a mage. You mentioned his influences earlier, and I can hear hints of a Deckard Cain from Diablo in his stay a while and listen quality, or the warmth of a Robin Williams. But Bramwick is also his own unique character. How does he maintain that originality while drawing on those archetypes? It's in the blend and the self-awareness. He has that knowledgeable, old storyteller quality, but he infuses it with a very specific, almost humble curiosity. He'll offer charming asides like, quote, Mistress Sella Copperquill, whose travels carried her farther across our world than perhaps any scholar before or since. Often remarked that I possessed the rare ability to begin 3 stories before concluding the first. She was almost certainly correct, end quote. This grounds him. He's a historian with a library, but he's also an explorer and a mage, so his understanding of the world isn't purely academic. He's experienced some of it firsthand, and that makes his perspective richer and more original. He's knowledgeable enough to guide us, but crucially, he isn't omniscient. He has access to archives, journals, and manuscripts, but he still reconstructs. He has to interpret. This makes his occasional, I confess, or I suspect, moments incredibly powerful, because they show the detective work of a true historian. He doesn't invent answers. He weighs probabilities, comparing accounts and reaching conclusions, but he admits when certainty eludes him. That limitation doesn't diminish him. It makes him more believable, more relatable. It tells you Bramwick is not outside the world, but grappling with its complexities just like its characters. I think that's why his insights into corruption are so potent. He doesn't frame it as a villain in a dark cloak. He says, quote, more often, corruption arrives politely. It asks only that decent people accept one reasonable compromise, then another, then one more. By the time anyone thinks to call it corruption, it has already become ordinary, end quote. That's a historian speaking, someone who's seen the slow erosion of ideals over time. He makes Mythraedel feel incredibly real, like a place with a living past, a complicated present, and an uncertain future, all because of his perspective. Exactly, he makes it clear that history is more than just wars and rulers. Small actions and quiet compromises are what truly reveal the character of a civilization. And as the story progresses, you realize Bramwick isn't merely recounting history. He's preserving it. He chooses what moments to highlight, what perspectives to include. He's saving these lives and these struggles from being forgotten, ensuring that future generations can learn from them. He becomes the ultimate lawkeeper, not just telling the tale, but immortalizing the very human experiences within it. And that preservation, that act of careful observation and interpretation, is his profound gift to us as readers. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider sharing the episode with a friend who loves deep world building and nuanced storytelling. Before we go, Let me pose a final question. If you could sit in Bramwick Thistlemore's archive for one evening and ask the old lore keeper about one person, place, or event from Mythraedel's history, what would you ask him about?